Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, some of you, a lot of you, especially some of the OGs here, have already know a lot of this stuff, right? Because what we're going to talk about today is the org board, and go back to it. But there's still a lot who might have even been here for a while who don't fully understand or get the org board, or maybe we haven't even talked about it. So, what I want to go through today is just like briefly or quickly tell you what it is, how it works, what it looks like, how we use it, so you guys can apply it to your particular position, and then also be able to, when we bring in new people, right, that we'll be able to help them get up to speed real quickly on what that is, okay? You guys know what I'm talking about when I say org board?
Yes.
Yeah. This is our org board, which we will be having posted back up again. It used to be up. Just set it right here. Which we will have posted back again. We had posted for the longest time, I believe. Wasn't it down in our
Break
it was in the break room, yeah. Which I think that's the best place for it. But right now we're reassembling it, moving things around because we have different people than was on it. I think some of the people that were on it have been gone for a little while. So we're reorganizing it and reconfiguring where everybody goes on it. And so we're going to do a little bit of that today too, all right? So the org board, just so you guys know and understand what that means, what that stands for. Org stands for organizing, okay? An organizing board, which is basically just like it says. It takes an organization, which can be any organization, right? You can have an org board and should have an org board for anything. That can include even like a family, right? Because all it does is organize everybody's hats and duties into particular places, right? So if you have a family, you also have certain hats, right? And certain duties. I know my hat is tonight, I need to take the trash to the end of the road. That's my hat. I know that. And I might have to be reminded of it, but that's my duty. That's not Katie's duty, that's my duty. She has hers, right? So we have our hats and we fall into those hats, but then that becomes your hat and your duty, what you're in charge of and what you're taking care of, right? And so we can actually organize all those hats no matter what like organization we are in. From dental office to dental assisting school to my church or a family or anything like that. Any kind of organization, we can use that. And that's what this is, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And this is something that's not common in the dental world, okay? You will not find an organizing board in very many dental offices, okay? Why is that? The reason is because we just don't know. We don't know about it. You can't do what you don't know how to do and what you don't know, right? I remember going through dental school, and my roommate not through dental school, through college, my roommate all through college was an accounting major. And when I graduated, I remember us laughing and me like bragging about, I don't know if we call it bragging, but we were laughing about the fact that I had gone through 4 years of college and I had never stepped foot into the business school. Never one time. I didn't even know what the inside of the business school looked like. Because I was in chemistry minor and a biology major, and I just never had a class in the business school. And I thought that was so funny until I went through dental school and then got out of dental school and realized it wasn't that funny because I didn't know what I was doing. I remember, I've told this before, but I remember the first month I was here. Dr. Webb was here, he was here for a week, and then he transitioned out, and then it was me. And then the end of that first month, I remember it was Faye, and she said to me, "Did you do your 941? I had no clue what a 941 was. None. I was like, what is that? What does that stand for? What does it mean? What do I do? How do I do it? So I now owned a business. I had no idea what one of the most basic things. So 941 is just your payroll tax, right? It's a form you have to file every single, it just depends on how big your organization is, but sometimes every 2 weeks, sometimes every month. You have to file that to the government to show your what wages and blah, blah, blah. But I had no idea, right? No one had ever taught me that. I knew how to do a filling and I knew how to do a crown, but I did not know how to organize and run a business at all. So we don't use these simply because we don't know how to. We don't know what they are. We've never heard of it. But if you step out of the dental world and you step into any other major organization, Walmart, Home Depot, any other major organization, they will all have an organizing board. It is just common across the board in business, because what it does is it organizes the flows within an organization. So how things are flowing, especially when it comes to communication. And that's how this is set up. So we'll get into all that. Since I don't have my PowerPoint, that's okay, because this will just help me guide. So the first thing, and we've talked about this recently, but I just got to go back over it quickly because it totally pertains to the org board, is a product, right? We've beat that in over the last year. What is a product? What is your product? All that kind of stuff, because it's so really important to know. But that pertains big time to the org board, and how you fit in on the org board really depends on what your product is. So what is a product? I have here a valuable final result created by an individual or team. Something can be exchanged, measured, or delivered, and every person has a product. So it needs to be valuable, right? Something you create. It needs to be exchangeable, and every single person has it, okay? So it's very easy to see a product like on an assembly line, right? Because they're taking a piece of metal and converting it along the assembly line until it comes out as a car or whatever, right? For us, it's a little bit different, right? Because we're in the service industry. But still, every single person here has at least one product, some multiple products. And every one of your products, what you're creating, adds to that valuable final product that we have that comes out, which is a happy and healthy patient. So a patient comes in, we are trying to create health in that patient, right? That is our final product. If we can create that product, we have succeeded. And every single person here adds to that product, right? Without your product, we cannot achieve as valuable a final product as we could with your product. Does that make sense? Because it falls off of here. The product falls off of here, and we can't do as well. We can't create as good of a product. Maybe we can still create something, but it's not as exchangeable and it's not as good. Does that make sense? So no matter what you're in and what you're doing, where you are creating something and you have some type of product. Agree? Good. Okay. Okay, I just put down here examples of products, right? So new patient coordinator. It's going to be new patient butts in the chair, right? Hygienist. I put that this could be different ones, but patients with completed hygiene visits could be measured with hygiene production. That would be more your stat. Product is going to be healthy hygiene visits, right? Or healthy hygiene patients. Dental assistants prepared and delivered procedures. Office manager collected revenue and organized operations. Doctor completed high quality dental treatments. So these are like all our products that we're creating, all simultaneously going on within our organization, right? And so you can imagine all of us are doing these things, right? And we're creating these products of people. And that can get like super chaotic if we don't organize that flow. If that flow is not organized. Because I did want to say something, but let me say, why focus on products? It aligns efforts with real results, creates clarity and accountability, and drives personal pride and team success. So we focus on that because it gives you something to produce when you have a product. I think, my personal opinion, this is why people's health in old age falls off so dramatically after retirement or something like that, or they get put in a assisted living or a nursing home or something like that, because they no longer really have a product with their life. They're not necessarily really producing. If you think about it, right now in your life, you are producing all the time, right? You go home, if you have a child, you have a product, right? Your product is that child developing into a productive part of society, right? That's what you're part of what you're producing. So we're continually having these products, and if we don't, then all of a sudden things start like falling off. Our purpose starts falling off, right? Then our need to do things. That's why with my mom and dad, my dad's been retired for over a year now. My mom is now officially retired, and I keep telling them, I'm like, make sure you're continuing to produce in some way. Make sure you're continuing to produce something in some way. It doesn't mean money. It could be a garden, could be whatever it is, but make sure you're continually having a product going. And because I think that's super, super important. So the focus on this, and like we had, if you were Lydia and Sarah, Candy, if you were here when I first originally started learning some of this information, was 2016, okay? And the first thing that we learned was really how to communicate and how to sell. Okay, so 2016, all of a sudden I'm getting all this information and learning how to communicate, how to sell, how to get people to be healthy, and I'm getting much better at that. And so within 1 year, just by learning that, we went from doing about $1.1 million a year, so 90,000-ish a month, which is a good practice. But we went from that to 2.1 million in 1 year, 2016. We jumped from 1.1 to 2.1 million. That's a crazy big jump, right? That's a doubling your practice in 1 year. So what did that create? We knew how to communicate, we were learning how to communicate, we were learning how to sell, but I haven't got to the part of the program yet that had anything to do with organization or organizing or anything like that. So what it created was a whole bunch of chaos. It was chaotic. We were at the other office, we were seeing tons of patients. I was having to convert my office into another operatory. So now I didn't have an office anymore, and it had just gotten like over the top chaotic. We were staying late, working through lunch. We were producing like crazy, but it was basically not that fun, right? It was getting like a huge burden almost. Like we were growing too fast, and I had no idea how to properly organize that and how to properly connect those dots and make those flows go together. So it wasn't until later. Now you look, and we're regularly doing anywhere from $350,000 up to $400,000 a month, right? So now we're doubled again. However, rarely are we working through lunch. Rarely are we staying late. If I'm walking out at 5:02, in my head I'm like, man, I lost today. I didn't do. It's almost like a competition for me against myself to try to finish on time. And rarely do I walk out of here after that, where that was the norm for many years. Candy remembers there was nights of 6 and 7 o'clock staying late with patients because we just weren't organized well. Patients were happy, we were seeing a bunch of work, we were doing it, but it wasn't fun. We weren't organized very well. So that's why now we had all these products going on, but they weren't organized. So then we come in and learn how to organize. We learn how to get everybody doing their thing. Because I remember, you guys remember, one of the things I used to brag about years ago for the first 7, 8, 9 years of my career was I always thought the right thing to do was that everybody knew how to do everything. Right? Everybody was cross-trained. Everybody knew how to do every job. If you were in the back, you knew how to do the front. If you were in the front, you knew how to do the back. If you were hygiene, you knew how to do, what the girls up front were doing, whatever. I just thought everybody needed to be crossed. There was no need for an office manual. There was no need for any type of hats or anything like that because everybody did everything. Right now, I legitimately thought that was the best way to do it. Until I learned that I was like completely wrong. Many times in my career I've learned I've been completely wrong. That is not the right way to do it. That is not the best way to give people job satisfaction, to help them to be productive in their role and to make an organization run properly, is for people to do things outside of their hats. That doesn't work, right? And so when we started putting all that in and when we started organizing, it was like, oh my goodness, it clicked. Now things were starting to click. And now But years later, I take 2-hour lunch. We still finish on time. I'm not saying everything runs beautifully, smoothly every day, like a bunch of rainbows and flowers, and it's all perfect, is it? No, because we're still dealing with human beings, right? And we still have people who come in who've had a bad day, or things that have not gone right in people's lives, or whatever. Who knows, right? We're still dealing with humans. So sometimes things don't go perfectly, right? And sometimes things run a little behind, or sometimes somebody gets ill, or somebody comes to work mad, or somebody comes to their appointment upset, or whatever. It happens, right? But overall, it runs very smoothly for the volume of dentistry that we do. And if you haven't worked somewhere else, go work somewhere else and see. You shall see. Just go to one of our own. That's what I was down in Huntsville last Monday. Go down there and see. Okay. See, that's what I'm trying to put in down there. That's why I was there, is putting in that organization, because things get chaotic there. Very chaotic. They haven't been organized well yet. That's what we're working on. And we'll get there, but it's not there yet. So you go down there and you see how stressed some of them get when they're going home, or how chaotic it is, and they're producing about $50,000 a month. Okay? We do that in 2 days. And so the volume we're doing is exponentially higher than the volume that they're doing. And I'm not knocking them, I'm not knocking the people. That's natural because they haven't been organized. That's my own fault. That has nothing to do with the people there. That just has to do with my lack of being able to get organization put in there. And we'll get there, and it's going to run very smoothly once we do, but it's just not quite there yet. So if you want to see, I invite you to go down there. Courtney's down there right now. She'll tell you all about it. But it will get better, okay? Because that's what this does. So this right here, this organizing board, let me just run through this. Let me make sure I'm not skipping anything. My computer keeps going down. Okay, up here. Okay, good. Yeah, let's go to the, so an org board is broken into, can y'all see this? Okay. So it's broken into 7 divisions. Let's turn it this way. Okay, so it has 7 divisions. Okay, so every organization can be broken into these 7 divisions. Okay, starting, this is y'all's left, right? Yeah. Left, okay. Right to left, your left. Starting here, this is division number 1. So why are we starting here? Like basically, y'all can see. Sarah, you see this one?
I can see.
Okay, you can see the back. Yeah. Okay, so why do we start here? It looks like number 2, but this is actually number 1. This is the executive division, so it stands off of the org board, so it's set separately, okay? Because the way an org board works is it basically works as the flow of products through an organization, right? So in this, and I'll show you what I mean by that, but the executive division is a little bit separate, right? It's basically where the planning takes place. So there's no real patients that flow through this division, right? This is going to be separate, right? Because where we do the planning, all that kind of stuff, where we have to do legal stuff, or I have to find an accountant, or anything like that. That all happens in here. So if I have an attorney that does all our stuff, which I do for our organizations, it falls under this box here, right? So that doesn't really fall under patient flow. So it's off the org board. That's why it's over here by itself. So starting here, number 1, division 1, and everything flows that way along the org board. Okay, and let me show you what I mean by that. So in division 1, we have the communication division, right? This division is pretty much where we are establishing the office. Do y'all know what I mean by establishing? Establishing, like, what?
Making known.
Making known, exactly, great. Making known, like making firm, creating. This is where we're doing that. This is where we're first doing this. So this is where you're going to find like HR, because before we can even have an organization, we have to hire people. Right? We have to have people to provide the service and the products. Right? So all that is going to fall underneath here. So you'll see basically hiring and hatting. You're going to see director of communications. This is going to be like where the mail's getting routed. right? So sometimes we have mail coming in where that's getting routed and protected to the right place, emails getting routed, things like that. Inspection and reports is where we're having somebody making sure that everybody has their stat, everybody's submitting those stats, everybody's doing well with their stat. That's what's going on in these. So that's what's going on in this. So in this one, we're first like establishing what the organization's going to be. All right. We're also having those first contacts with patients, with the communication, right? So somebody's making a phone call. So we have receptionists, right? That first like contact. Okay. Going over into the dissemination division. Do y'all know what dissemination means? It's a fancy word. It just means getting out there, getting it out there. So if I was to send out a bunch of books, or if I was to make a pamphlet or a flyer that I wanted all you guys to know about a summer retreat we were doing or something, and I was like, okay, I'm going to mail it out to all you, I would be disseminating it to you. That means getting it out there, making it known, right? So that's what dissemination is, making sure we're known about. It can also mean making sure our services are known about, right? So this would include like where Holly is on here, right? Which is educating the patient about, in other words, selling the patient on their plan, whatever it is, whatever we have to do to educate them on what's needed or wanted by them. Does that make sense? That's in dissemination. The next, then, now the patients come in, they've made the phone call, they've learned about us, now we've told them about what they've needed, we've told them what it's going to cost. Now they're going to go over to the treasury division, the finance division, and this is where all the finance is held. This is where they're going to pay for that service. This is where a lot in dentistry and medicine doesn't do things so well, and where it can create major cash flow problems, and where other organizations do things well. There's a lot of times where they come over to this division and we're like, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want them to pay before they get their service, because it's just not the normal way dentistry's always done it, right? However, all other industries it is. Right? You go to Walmart, you walk to the cash register, you have your rotisserie chicken with you, and you say, send me a bill, I'll pay for it next month. They're going to look at you like you're insane. I'm not doing that. Or tomorrow, I fly with Southwest. I had to pay for my ticket a month ago, probably over a month ago. If I showed up there and I was like, hey, I'm gonna hop on the plane, after we land, I'm gonna wait a couple weeks and then I'll send you a check. They'd be like, you can't even get in the airport. You can't even get past security. They check that before you even get through security. That's because they have the finance division organized in the proper place. Does that make sense? Finance division also includes, so we have money coming in. It also includes the money going out, right? Because you guys want to be paid. Right, so we need the money coming in, we need the money going out, right? Because we need people getting paid, we need supplies getting paid for, we need all that stuff getting handled, right? The next one now is, this one has a couple of different names. Let's see, this one we named it technical division. It can also be called production division. Technical division is because it's where the technical services are done, right? That's where the dentistry is done, right? If you're a technician, if you're a hygienist or a dentist or an assistant, you're doing technical work with your hands, right? So we're providing a service in that division. The next one over is the qualification division. Now we have to make sure that we did good work. We have to make sure it didn't suck, that the patients aren't upset. That's the qualification division. So it goes over to the qualification division. That's where we're making sure we're asking the patients, how was your appointment? We're checking to see what kind of reviews we're getting. If we're getting a bad review, we're calling them and finding out why that is. We're following up with patients, right? We're calling them. How was your procedure? How are you doing? Are you in pain? How do you feel? That's all going underneath the qualification. People have to be specifically added to handle those or it doesn't get handled. I used to do all that. That whole section was all me by myself a long time ago. Call patients every single night to check on them. I was doing the qualifications myself. And then as the amount of patients we've seen and as we've grown, I've had to give that to other people to help me because it's too much, too burdensome. And then at the end, this is the public division or public relations, whatever you want. This is how we make ourselves known to the public, right? This is where we're asking for the 5-star reviews. We're getting the Google reviews. This is where we're doing events with like Career Day or the lemonade stands, or we're doing things with the public, right? It also is where we're reaching out to the public, right? We may send marketing stuff or SEO stuff or stuff like that to make ourselves known. Does that make sense? So that is the flow of the patient and of the organization. Now, each one of you falls on this board at least one time, sometimes multiple times, right? And each one of those places you fall on has a different product. Every single one of these divisions has different products, right? So each one of these divisions has 3 departments. Each one of those departments has different products. Does that make sense? So you're on there somewhere, and your product is on there, and your product is leading to a valuable final product at the end when the patient comes out. Okay? Now, what this does is it organizes all our hats and all our products in these nice, pretty columns, because what that does is it tells you who to communicate with, what flows we have. Let's say a doctor has a question or an issue about, I don't know, the lab. They're not happy with the dental lab. It hasn't been giving them good crowns. They're not fitting well. Who do they go talk to? They can go on to the org board and they can find, okay, in the technical division, where is the lab case follow-up? Okay? They're gonna go find, okay, that's who's in charge of lab cases. Now, if this person, the doctor goes and says, hey, listen, I'm not happy with this lab. I really don't like them very much. They're not doing a good job. And I've given them several chances, it's just not working out. Okay. Now, this person now has this information. They can do, depending on what their hat is, they can do multiple things. One is they can fix it, if that's their hat. If they're not sure, then they go and they find the person over their department. Now they're moving up this way to get answers that they need. They're not skipping and jumping way up here, right? Now they know the correct flow of who to go to and who to talk to. And it makes someone who's new to an organization come in and way more clear. Okay, this is who I go talk to. Doesn't really help you because there's no names on here. But if there were names on here, it would be very easy for you to go look and say, oh yeah, I need to go talk to Kirsten, that's right. Because her name is there. It makes it much easier. So it just organizes the flow of communication. So it organizes the flow of products and organizes the flow of communications. Does that make sense? Fantastic. Good. Okay. We're dead on. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything because I have something for us to do. Okay, good. I did not. All right. You want to help me hand these out? Yeah. Let's do this. Let's break into I want to get many people. Let's do assistants, hygienists, and front desk. Let's break into groups like that. What are you smiling at?
Here's like some good examples. I guess I'm just
Okay, good. So what we're going to do, this is self-explanatory as you walk through here. You can write on the back of it, okay, as you go. You're going to talk about this together, and essentially what we're going to be doing is coming up with our own kind of org board, okay? Now you might only focus on your area, okay? So you guys are probably only going to focus on the front desk, what roles, what hats, what we're doing, okay? Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to leave this here for you guys as reference, okay? This org board, so you can look and see. It's a cheat sheet. All right, so you can look as you're going through this. It'll help you answer some of the questions about what hats are there. In other words, what duties are there, and who to place where and that. Right. So this is just the idea of this is to give you guys some mass behind an org board and how we all fit together and fall on it. Okay, that's the idea. So if you have questions, I'll be walking around. I'll help you. Okay? All right, start.
So you're supposed to